Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Living Made Easier Arthritis Hacks for At-Home webinar. Thanks for joining me this evening. My name is Rebecca Gillett, and I am an occupational therapist and here on staff at the Arthritis Foundation as the Director of Content Strategy and Planning. I'm also an arthritis patient like you and have lived with rheumatoid arthritis for over 20 years and osteoarthritis as well. Our guest expert today will share, and I will share various tips, techniques, and tools to help make daily activities around the home easier on the joints, less exhausting, and generally a little bit more enjoyable. It can be super frustrating when you can't do some things around the home. Tonight, we'll be mostly focused on the tasks for getting around the home and getting ready for your day, as well as daily chores such as cleaning and gardening. We'll have a separate Living Made Easier event dedicated to just cooking and getting around the kitchen later in the year. So keep an eye out for that one. Before we get started, I wanted to just remind you that programs like this are made possible because of information that we get from you, our audience and our patients out there and caregivers. When you share insights of what it's like to live with arthritis, it helps us determine what types of things do we need to look into as far as research. What kind of treatments are people still looking for because they're not getting pain relief? And what kind of programs and education events like this are you wanting more information on? So if you have a few minutes in your day, help us by providing your feedback of your experience of living with arthritis. That'll help set the agenda of what we do coming in the future. So just go to arthritis.org/insights to be able to participate. Before we get started, there is some housekeeping things that I want to let you know about. First of all, you are muted, so we've muted all attendees of the event, but you can direct any questions you may have throughout the presentation in the Q&A box on the bottom of your screen. Also, feel free to share any hacks you have perfected that you have perfected, any tips and strategies you have in the Q&A box for everybody to see. We will reserve time at the end of the webinar for some of your questions at the end. And after tonight's session, you will receive an email about your experience attending this webinar. And the survey that you will get will help us track the success of these sessions and better plan for future events. So please take time to fill them out if you can. So let's get started. Today, it's my pleasure to introduce a fellow occupational therapist and friend. Jeanine Beasley is joining us. She is a professor at Grand Valley State University's Occupational Science and Therapy Department and is the coordinator of the Occupational Therapy Hybrid Program in Grand Rapids, Michigan. She has authored and co-authored several book chapters and journal articles dealing with arthritis and orthotics. Among Jeanine's several designations include being a 2017 honored professor at the Philadelphia Hand Meeting, a fellow of the American Occupational Therapy Association, and the recipient of the 2018 Grand Valley State University Niemeyer Award for Excellence in Teaching. Jeanine actually is also a fellow arthritis patient. So Jeanine, thanks. Welcome to the webinar and thanks for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Great. So I want to thank you for having me. I've just really been impressed with the Arthritis Foundation and have been active throughout the years, and it just provides a lot of helpful information to me and to my patients who have arthritis. So thank you again for this opportunity. We're going to start today to talking about different hacks that are available so that you can get through your day more easily. And as many of us, we start our day in the bedroom. So that's going to be the first area that we go to. we had already had some questions about hacks in the bedroom, and so I'll be trying to address those as we go along. So let's talk about getting in and out of bed. That can be very challenging for individuals. Um, a sturdy bed rail at the head of the bed can be very helpful as you roll to one side. Maybe get your legs near the edge of the bed and gently in the direction of the floor, and then push up with a railing. That railing can also help you to come to standing. So that is one hack that can be just very helpful, so that because you're often with arthritis, we can be stiffer in the morning than we are as we go about our day. Bed risers are also very helpful because you coming to standing, you're coming from a higher position, so it's not so difficult to stand. And many people like to use an electric blanket, maybe to loosen things up while they're in bed, but you have to be very careful to not let it go all night long, to turn off that electric blanket, or be sure it has an automatic shut-off feature to avoid any burns. There was questions already about sleeping comfortably. Really what you want to have is a neutral spine. So what's a neutral spine? You don't want to have your shoulders forward, because, as you know, that's a posture that can be very difficult to work with here. So you want a neutral spine. You want to be able to move around in bed easily. Staying in one position is very difficult. So if you're on your side, a pillow between your knees and a pillow between your arms can be very helpful. On your back, a lower pillow is also very helpful. But this movement is very important. And so the fabric that you sleep in can be key. For example, you want to avoid flannel pajamas and flannel sheets, because the two together, you just stop. So fabrics that allow more movement include silk or polyester, and sheets with a higher thread count. So there was a question that a bed was high, and you can be too high with your bed if it's hard to get into. You want to find that right height that's not too high or too low. And as you get in bed, you would sit on the edge of the bed, and then using a bed rail, lower to the side, and then again bring your legs in. So that can be a nice way to do it. Okay, how about our next slide here? Okay, this is a live demo, and I'm going to turn that over to the live demonstration.
Yeah, so it's kind of hard because I'm not in my bedroom, and I am not, I'd have to fix my bed to demo this to you guys. No, I'm just kidding. So this is a yoga strap. If you have a dog, think of the edge of your dog leash where there's a loop. And you can also use a belt that might be a longer belt. But the point is, with the yoga strap, you can adjust it as you need to, just like you can for most belts. And then with a dog leash too, you might be able, it might be a little too long, but you just have to pull from the length that you need. But what you do is at the very bottom, this is where you put your foot. So it serves as what we would call a leg lifter. So if you're having issues with your knee and having a hard time moving it, but your arms and your wrists and hands are okay, you can loop your foot into the bottom of this, keep your legs straight, and then just swing your leg off the bed. That's kind of the point of what this is for. So if you have any of these items, a belt, a yoga strap, or a dog leash, you can use one of those. There are adaptive equipment pieces that you can actually purchase that are specifically called leg lifters, just for that reason. So that's one of the things that you can explore trying to use if getting in and out of the bed is difficult. Jeanine was talking about rolling onto your side. So if you've heard of a log roll before, oftentimes that's an easier way to get out of the bed. And that is something that I do a lot with my back pain, is I log roll. It's easier for me than to sit straight up and then turn out. So when you log roll, you're turning onto your side, then you're swinging your feet out, and then you're pushing up by one side to sit up. But that's also a way that most occupational therapists and physical therapists will teach you, especially when you've had certain surgeries, how to get out of bed. One thing I want to touch on, I know a lot of you have so many questions about sleep and sleep positions, pillows, but also the right mattress. Find the right mattress for you. I don't know, until I got a new mattress, I finally realized how badly I needed a new mattress, and my sleep improved because I was on a mattress that responds to my movements, and I can adjust the levels of firmness or softness depending on my pain levels. And so really take the time to research a good mattress, because that often is key to helping you get a good night's sleep as well. So Jeanine, I'm going to throw it back to you.
Okay, and we'll get those slides going again. There was lots of, I just love that we have all these questions. Thank you, everyone. It makes this a lot more interactive, and we can really help to meet your needs. We had some questions about if you have ankylosing spondylitis, and you can't get that neutral spine that we're looking to do. Well, then again, it's going to be finding the right combination of pillows, as Rebecca said, to support your upper extremities and your lower extremities. If you're on the left or the right side, and that can change. I like to have those pillows on each side because you're going to probably spend part of your night on one side and part on the other, and you don't want to be getting up and moving everything. Where's my third pillow there? So
Right.
that can be very helpful.
Literally, I have a pillow for each arm, and I am a side sleeper. So for those of you that are side sleeper, one trick I learned from my physical therapist early on in the years, because my shoulders used to flare a lot, was when you sleep on your side, if you reach out, what your scapula and your shoulder blades are doing is called protraction. Okay. So then when you lay down, this is really kind of hard to demo. When you lay down, you want to make sure that your shoulders are protracted. And I put a pillow here, and I hug pillows because of my wrist issues. And so they're resting nicely on a pillow. But I do move to different sides at night. And that's why I have two pillows on each side, and then one that goes under my shoulder that I'm sleeping on. But that helped eliminate my pain in the shoulders just from sleeping. So I just wanted to share that tip too, while you were talking about the pillows, Jeanine.
Thank you. That's great. It's great to have two occupational therapists here. It doesn't happen that often. This is wonderful. So, all righty. We're going to move on to getting dressed. And this can be very challenging for individuals. Opening up dressers and drawers, sometimes it's hard to get your clothes out of those drawers. And so using a loop of webbing or an old leather belt can make a handle that you can get your whole arm in and give it a pull. My mother also has osteoarthritis, and she's lost a lot of her shoulder mobility. And my son went in and lowered her rack for all of her clothes. So she doesn't have an upper rack anymore. She only has a lower rack. And she's so excited about it. She has people touring her closet on a regular basis because she can get her clothes and hang them all up, as opposed to not using that high bar, which is just not helpful. It's a simple, inexpensive fix that you can do with hooks, or having those hangers lower. One time when you put on socks or put on shoes or put on pants, that's when many people actually lose their balance, because you're on one foot for a period of time. So sitting down when getting dressed is very helpful to maintaining your balance. There is adaptive clothing This is my self belt is like a Velcro belt, so you don't have to manipulate that buckle. A dressing stick here is very helpful for reaching. Many individuals have difficulty getting that second arm into the garment. And a good tip for that is the more painful shoulder or arm would go in first and out last, because you can really position the garment more easily if you over the more difficult or limited extremity, and then it's easier to get the second one in. So in first, out last with that. So Rebecca, do you have anything from the chat room or?
So I was looking to see if somebody had more
hacks for us. We love,
things.
yes, and we love it when you share your successful things. There was one about, I have extreme difficulty in putting on a brassiere, and
Yes.
that is a very common. There are tools for that. Many people just do an overhead bra that doesn't have those clasps, or doing the clasps in the front and spinning it around can be very helpful. So like a sports bra would not require that to be undone, but you can turn a regular bra into a sports bra by buckling it in the front. Is that, Rebecca, did you have some?
Yeah, and I I often will use, most of mine are front hooks.
Yep.
A front hook bra, but also they do make sports bras now that I've seen that have zippers.
Mm-hmm.
And the zipper itself, that the pull for the zipper is larger. And so those are easy for me to put on. So that's a new hack I've found for myself. But I do exactly what you say, is clasp in the front and turn it around. So that does, shorten maybe the life of your bra that you're using, but it's worth not getting frustrated over trying to do it the way that I used to. But I haven't done it the way that most people do in years. So I've always just done it through the front. And so, but even that, I understand, can be very difficult if your fingers and your hands are really hard. But that's where, like you said, there's a lot of the sports bras, or so much loungewear now these days that have something that's built in that you could wear, and you just get a size up so you can slide it on easier. I know there's some other types that I've seen, but we don't really have images of those on here, but definitely explore. It's the hard part, because you do have to try. It's trial and error for what's going to work for you and your issues. So here's another reason I think you can try to work with either with an OT who can help you figure out a solution that works for you.
That's great. That's great. We're going to have there are things like for buttons, which can be difficult, like a button hook, which is shown here in the slide. There were some questions about zippers, and we're going to have a little tip in just a second here about that. But replacing, a little bit bigger size clothing, elastic size waists, replacing Velcro for some of those items can be very helpful. This dressing stick here has a little hook that you can use to get a zipper that may be difficult to reach, and to help pull it up if it's got a larger little ring around it. And I think that we're going to be showing that shortly here. So shall we go to the next slide? Okay. Jewelry can be very challenging, and there are many. You have these your wedding ring, your very precious rings, and jewelers can be very helpful in that. As with osteoarthritis, the knuckles get a little bigger, and so your ring fits over the knuckle, but it's too loose around your finger, and so there is a hinge that can be put in many rings that make it bigger to go over the knuckle and closes so that it's comfortable on your hand. It's called an adjustable shank. And I've had many people that I worked with that just really appreciated that for those rings that mean so much to us. Avoiding jewelry with small clasps is important. And there are magnetic clasps that make things just so much easier, or just getting jewelry that fits over your head so they can already be clasped and you can just pop those on. So that's very helpful. Should we go to the next slide? All righty, shoes. I haven't met very few people that don't have a shoehorn in their life that have arthritis. It seems to be one of the first pieces of adaptive equipment that individuals get. And if you can get a long-handled shoehorn, it can be very helpful for getting those shoes on. Over here on the left is a sock aid. And sock aids are a great help if you have trouble reaching your feet. And so you can see here in the photograph that the sock is put over the sock aid. You kind of aim it towards your foot and slide it on. My students at Grand Valley State University, I make them make their own sock aid, and they learn how to do that. And they've made them out of oatmeal containers and different boxes and things like that. They're pretty easy to make with a little ribbon or something for that. So these are available commercially, but some of these things you can make at home. So, and the third is using over-the-door shoe hanging rack, which is just get your shoes off the ground and up a little bit higher to avoid stooping. We can go to the next slide. Sorry, you were very Johnny on the spot. Proper shoe wear, though, is critical for individuals with arthritis. You really want to consult with your healthcare provider for advice on the right shoes. It makes all the difference. You may need custom orthotics, and they can be very helpful. There are shoes that have extra depth in the toe area. And as we know, many of us have like bunions or deviation, especially the big toe, that if you're wearing a very pointy toe, it can really cause actually deviation. So you want to consider shoes that slip on. As we know, it's hard to get down and tie those shoes. Using Velcro closures is very helpful. A nice little hack is elastic shoelaces. So these are actually, kids are using these. You might find them around for kids. They're elastic, they stay tied all the time, and they make a pair of tie shoes. They make them into a pair of slip-on shoes because they expand as they go on. So it's a pretty nice way to go. So I'm just checking to see if there's any questions about that. Someone was asking about sock aid for compression socks. Compression socks are very difficult to put on, as you know, and there is a rigid sock aid that is like a ring that you can get for compressions. Someone else was asking about putting on a swimsuit. That can be, getting a wet swimsuit on and off can be very, very difficult. I would recommend a suit that is slightly oversized. I'm sorry to say this, but so you have a little more convenience with that. And there's swimsuits that are very tight, and you want to avoid that. To dry off as much as you can, and then sometimes using a reacher to help get that swimsuit down off of and below, so you can pop it off your feet with the reacher. So, okay. Rebecca, do you have anything you want to add before we go on?
One trick that I've seen, I think, before that people have done with compression socks that can be hard is putting a plastic bag. So let's say, like, oh, it's hard to say, like, when you get your newspaper, because you don't really get your newspaper much anymore, but think of a plastic bag, like a tube, and you put that on and then slide, the compression sock slides easier versus over your perhaps dry skin or, wet skin, whatever it is, but
Mhm.
having that plastic as a barrier in between, and then it can just pop right off. I've seen that hack done before, so that's helpful. And I think we're doing a live demo next on the next slide.
Very exciting.
So one thing that I need to get back on video, sorry guys. I just lost it, where'd it go? I have so many gadgets around me, so sorry, I'm trying to find all of the things. One hack that we have, but definitely want to show the slide with the directions, if we can share the slide back again, is you take a large paper clip. Sorry, here I am. You take a large paper clip and you can loop that into the hole of your zipper and then just keep it there to help you zip up and zip down. And if you, obviously you don't want to leave that hanging there. So that's what's nice about this little hack is that you can just stick it in your pocket when you're done, right? Or in your bag and have it, but you can still open up. Honestly, I often some of the things I do buy have zippers versus buttons. And a lot of times it has a natural piece at the end of the zipper that's a little bit longer. So I'm not having to hold that very small zipper with it. So that's one of the little hacks. There are little cords that you can buy, just little nylon pieces. You can have someone thread it through for you on your zippers to make it go, so you can have a longer piece. But I know that it can be super tricky to have to use those zippers. Let me see. I think there was a question. Next slide. I'm not seeing all of the slides. Can we share the slides back again?
There was some questions, some nice tips about swimming suits. We're getting fabulous. We're up to many responses.
Yeah.
And one person said avoid a one-piece swimsuit. They use a two-piece swimsuit to make it a little bit easier. And another found a swimsuit with a zipper. So that is another great option from our people watching today. So thank you for sharing those.
So that's an interesting question. The dressing stick is great and easy. Dina is saying that it's easy to use it to zip up, but what about zipping down? That's kind of hard. And I know that internal rotation of your shoulders, sometimes it's really hard for people to reach back to do that. I'm not sure I have a solution for that one, but other than, yeah, I guess you would have to reverse engineer coming from the back to do it, right? That would be really kind of hard. But difficult. It is. I don't have a lot of things with closed zippers in the back either. The funny thing is I was looking at for some shirts with buttons so I could try to demo doing a button hook for you guys. However, I have found one shirt with buttons, and part of it is because I've adapted my shopping over 20 years to buy things that are easier for me to put on and off. But if you thoughtfully think about any of the clothes that you have, how hard is it going to be for me to get on? I do buy shirts that are a little bit bigger so that they're easier for me to kind of get over my shoulders and my head. But yeah, for sure, I think it's difficult to try to manage. All right, we can go to the next slide. Okay, I just want to leave that up so I don't forget what I'm showing. This is a button hook, and I know that this device is, it looks intimidating, but it's actually much easier to use if it's on you. So what you essentially do with these is that, I know tiny buttons, like I was saying, is hard, is where you have the slit for your button to go. That's the side that you loop into, okay? So you loop in that way, and then you're able to grab that button and pull it through. So I know it's real difficult to kind of watch this, but I'm sure you'll see lots of demos that you could find on YouTube. I'm sure that our friend and volunteer at the Arthritis Foundation, Cheryl Crow, has all kinds of hacks of videos of tools and stuff that I know she uses. But this is a lifesaver, because I know that when I was first diagnosed, how hard things were for me to button, especially jeans and stuff like that. And one of my fixes too that I use sometimes for jeans, especially when I was pregnant and growing, is just a rubber band around the loop and back in. So then it just came up and down easier. And that kind of helped avoid having to worry about getting back a button back up. So if the other thing I wanted to show for dressing is we talked about a long shoe handle, right? This is one that I have that actually extends, so it's easier for travel, right? And you can adjust it at the length that you want. And obviously you just put it to the back of your foot of your shoe to slide your foot in easier, and that helps. And Jeanine mentioned orthotics. Sorry, my stuff. I have a couple different kinds, right? And so I've gone to a podiatrist. I was referred by my rheumatologist because my feet were hurting so much. And I have actual custom ones that I can slide into different shoes, and it's molded specifically to my foot. So I know there was a question about, do orthotics actually work? Well, yes, if the idea is that your foot needs to be in a neutral position, right? And some of us do what is called overpronated. So you turn your foot in too much, or maybe you turn it out too much. That can add to pain in your feet. And so having something that's custom made to your foot can often help. And what's nice, the unfortunate thing is that insurance doesn't always cover these, and they're not the cheapest things. You can buy some over-the-counter ones, but having other issues, sometimes it's better to get a custom orthotic. You can use your flexible spending account stuff for that if you have, if you have one through your insurance, but having one custom made to your foot makes a big difference. And it has for me. I've struggled with plantar fasciitis over the years, and having these orthotics is what helps me decrease that inflammation and get past it. The other thing about orthotics, it's not just for your feet or braces for your knees. There's the ones for your hands. So when Jeanine was talking about sleeping, and I know this looks like an awful thing to put your wrist in when you're sleeping, but I have a couple of different versions from post-surgery, and one when I was, just flaring, and had to have a new one because your joints change over time. Having this for 20 years, I've had probably 6 of these made, but the idea, and she's touched on neutral position, is that when you are sleeping, it gives your wrist and your fingers and your hand the opportunity for your joints to rest in what we call a neutral position. If you have your fingers balled up and you sleep like this, it's not helping to decrease inflammation. You're causing more strain on those small joints in your hands and your wrist. If you're sleeping on your side or sleeping on your arm and you're bending your wrist, that's not going to help. So oftentimes having a resting splint made custom for you by a hand therapist, or OT or PT who can actually make these, is important. It's what got me through the first couple of years of having a lot of flares, and you get used to it after a while. And then you wake up in the morning and you're not as stiff and swollen. And so to answer your question on orthotics, I highly recommend it. Depending on the joint, you would go to a PT or an OT, or a hand therapist. If it's your hands, definitely a hand therapist.
Rebecca, can I show my splint now that you're showing yours?
Yes.
Okay, so I have osteoarthritis, and there was a couple questions about sleeping with osteoarthritis with the base of the thumb. And actually, these small little orthoses can be made by a hand therapist or an occupational therapist, or some physical therapists can make them. And it actually provides stability to your thumb, lines it up. And actually, there was a question about how do I get my thumb stronger? Actually, this has been demonstrated to, if everything's lined up, you actually are more stable and you're actually stronger and have less pain at night And just wearing them at night seems to help through the day. So if you have a lot of pain with your thumbs and you feel difficulty with pinch, there's an orthosis for you that can really make we've got almost 6 systematic reviews showing these puppies to be terrific. So sorry, I interrupted. I was
No, I'm
excited.
glad you did. I know a lot of people struggle with arthritis in their thumbs, and my mom's one of them, and she has a splint for her thumb. And the most frustrating part about it was, I can't bend my thumb. Well, you're not,
Yeah.
that's the point. Like when you have pain at the bottom of your thumb, you do need to rest it, right? And
Mhm.
adapt how you're doing that pinch. That's why it's important to see a hand therapist, so you can learn these things and do exercises to strengthen the small muscles in your hands and your thumbs and fingers. But as Jeanine said, just like my wrist resting splits that I used to use all the time, if you at the very minimum use a thumb splint at night, it will really give your hands and your thumb an opportunity to rest and help calm down some of that inflammation.
Mhm.
So I'm wearing some ring splints, Jeanine, and this is something that I thought I would show because when I was 26 and my fingers were really swollen when I was first diagnosed with RA, I had wished that I didn't have to wear something. This is called the Oval 8.
Oval 8. Yeah, Oval 8.
Splint. So see how it's keeping my finger straight. For those of you who are still struggling with arthritis in your hands, whether it's osteoarthritis or rheumatoid arthritis, whichever type you have, this is great because, again, as we're talking about, it helps rest your joint in a position that's neutral so the inflammation can calm down. And if you have too much flexion, which your fingers bend too much, it can do the opposite as well to keep that finger straight. You just flip it, right? So the silver ring is another option that's out there, and you have to have it, of course, figure out the size that's right for you, working with a therapist, hand therapist. But this just looks like a jewelry piece, right? Like it could just be, a fun ring that you have and it won't stand out as much. So something I wish that was around, or maybe it was, and I just wasn't told about it when I was in my 20s. So look out for that. Those are some ring splints that are available. And so I think we can move on from some of the dressing stuff onto the next slide.
Okay, so now we're headed to the bathroom. This is a chair you can't avoid. Let me just tell you, I know we individuals who have osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, or one of the many other forms of arthritis like to avoid low chairs, but the toilet is one that we all need to go to. So sometimes you need to get a raised toilet seat for the toilet. These are very commonly available. I don't think every time I go to Goodwill, I find one there. I got to tell you, they're just used by many people who are having hip replacement surgery temporarily. And they can make the difference. You have to, now, if you're very short, you probably don't need one. But if you're taller, having an elevated toilet seat can be so helpful so you don't flop down on that toilet. And that's very hard on your knees. Grab bars by the toilet, as you've probably seen them in every public restroom now that things are getting better with our public restrooms. And it can be very helpful at home as well. This, in the lower right-hand corner here, is a extension lever to help flush the toilet. Now, so you're on the toilet and turning around. Sometimes if you have limitations in your spine motion, you will, this can really help with that situation. But what I'm finding is I got to travel to Europe, and in Europe, they have a lot of bidets. Bidets provide hot water to clean the area and dry the area with air. So there are bidets that you can fit on your regular toilet seat. And I got to tell you, I don't get any money for telling you about these things. I get $0. But sometimes being independent a bidet can really keep you independent longer. So consider a bidet, which is a toilet all by itself, or a bidet attachment that hooks on. And you want to be safe in the bathroom, very safe in the bathroom. So a light activated nightlight, all of you that have been in this very active question and answer room, we're all getting up in the night. Okay. And so you don't want to fall on the way to the restroom. So that light activated nightlight can be very, very helpful. So great. I think we can go on to the next slide. All righty. And if I have any questions I've missed, let me know. We're getting some wonderful questions about, or some suggestions from others. So oral health. There are long-handled, reloadable type flossers. You go to the dentist and they say, "Have you been flossing?" And everybody says, "Yeah, do we floss enough?" We all probably are not flossing enough. So there are some reloadable type flossers that can be very helpful. You may want like a water flosser. There are some of those available from different companies that can be very helpful. And rinsing, there's fluoride rinses, which are also very, very good because you're getting that important element to protect your teeth. But there's electric toothbrushes. They do a lot of the work for you, and usually they have a bigger handle. If you really want to use your manual toothbrush, getting a bigger handle. In a minute, we're going to talk about putting a foam built-up handle on an object, and that could also be put around your toothbrush. And getting the toothpaste out of the tube can be difficult. Some people use an elbow, but these devices kind of help you to squeeze it from the bottom up. There's others that roll it. There's also some pump type dispensers that can be used, and you can put a lever on that as well. So these are really, you got to take care of your teeth because it's important to your whole body. So shall we go on to the next slide? And
we have the video first. Okay.
Here's the video of the foam handle.
All right, so I have a couple of the things Jeanine was talking about to show. So electric toothbrush, it does just naturally have a wider handle to it, so it's easier to grasp, and you're not having to do all of the movement and keep moving your arms if your shoulder or your elbows are hurting. It's moving for you. So I think these are great. Water picks are great too, to help with the floss. I know she said a water flosser. But again, if another option with the foam tubes, like we saw in the video, is the toothbrush, right? So you can buy a pack of these on Amazon. And again, we're not endorsing any specific product, but I did see some of these, and there's different sizes of holes, so it can go on different things, and you can easily just adapt your actual toothbrush if you prefer it. To be honest, I don't love my electric toothbrush. I don't like the vibration, so I'd rather build up or look for toothbrushes that have a fatter handle on it. And one thing I wish I had known when I was younger, when I was first diagnosed, is having a foam grip to build up my razor, because this can be really hard. And I know that there are some other, uh, there's a tool called, I think, the Giraffe, that gives an extension to razors so that you can actually reach it if you're having trouble bending or hip issues or anything like that. And I know even with shoulder, because if you're shaving under your arms, right, and you can't reach across, it is hard. And so having the extender to be able to do that can be helpful. But these foam tubes, just like that video showed, can be used in a variety of places. Another tooth care. So especially when you have rheumatoid arthritis and some of the inflammatory types of arthritis, it's important to know that oral health is just as important. As Jeanine said, oftentimes you're more prone to gingivitis or gum disease, and you know, you don't want that, but we already have enough problems, right? But it can affect your overall health. And so I discovered these a few years ago, and they are flossers with a handle. And I couldn't have been more excited when I found them. You just easily pop off and change the head, the top of it. It is made by Listerine. I get them at Target, so any stores that you go to. But my wrists are fused. So even if I used one of these little flossers that are out there, which this is what I used to use until I found them. I used to use these, right? Until I found this and realized, oh, I can actually get in the back of my mouth easier. My wrists don't bend, not my left one at least, and my right one only a little bit. So I'm very limited in movement to be able to floss and reach out in the back and then on the uppers. And so I highly recommend these if you're having issues in your wrists and your fingers, because what it does, it just gives you a longer handle. So then you're using some larger joints versus the teeny tiny joints. When you are flossing, you're only hanging on to that very, very little string, right? So at least with this, you have a larger handle that you're holding on. You don't have to hold on to it as tightly. So those are a couple things when it comes to oral health that I wanted to share with you. And I think we can move on to the next section.
Yes, and Rebecca, people were asking in the chat, where do they get that? Where do they get that foam? Where do you get the foam?
Well, yeah, so you can get it online. If you you can go in the video. He uses foam insulation. You can get at home, like a Home Depot or a Lowe's. These foam tubes that come in different sizes. If you look online in Google, built up foam handles, right? You can find it. But if you look on, type in the same thing in Amazon, I do believe they have like a whole section of like adaptive tools. And you'll find different colors, but the one that I've used for people before has yellow, red, and blue ones in it. And so the three colors have a different size to it. And so you could adapt anything and everything with these, as long as you have the right size that your tool can fit in that you want to adapt.
There was two really good comments in the question and answer. One was the 3-sided flossers that look like little Christmas trees. Huge, those are a huge help to myself and also the person in the question and answer room. And another one that I had not heard of is there's toothpaste tablets you can buy. Did you know this? I didn't know.
No, I did not know
that you could buy. Well, thank you to this wonderful audience.
Yeah,
you can buy toothpaste tablets, and then you don't have to squeeze it out of that tube. And I think I'm going to go. I don't ask me where to get them. I don't know, but I'm sure you can Google that. So I want what a great group we have here tonight. So
yeah, you guys. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen 93 comments and questions. Maybe on a diet related one, but yeah. Okay, yes. I think we can move on to the next slide.
We sure can. Okay, there was, before we do.
Oh, I jumped ahead on the razor.
That's all right. People are asking about how to make your own sock aid, and I think you could just Google make your own sock aid and you'll find it. But you can take a like a oatmeal box and like cut it in half and put the sock on the oatmeal box and attach with 2 strings, maybe ribbons or cords, and you've got a sock aid. Isn't that exciting?
Yeah. It's really about the having the half circle, right?
The half
So,
circle. Yeah, that's all
yeah,
you need.
and you need something that's sturdier. So if it's something that's plastic, or like you said, the oatmeal container is a great one to use.
And we so start eating all your oatmeal right now so that you can.
It's good for you.
Okay.
Oh, we moved. There we
Here
go.
we go. All right. Well, let's get into bathing and grooving. We've done a little bit of this. So, it can be very difficult to turn on some of our handles with our faucets and shower handles. And so if sometimes you need to get these things replaced, and using levers instead of the turn type is very helpful. There are little devices that you could put on. Oh, are you holding one up?
It's a door lever, but
there you go.
kind of shower or faucet that has a handle like this makes it a little bit easier. Yeah.
Yes. Very, very. Oh, that's a pretty one. My goodness, it's lovely. Yes. And okay, we'll go back to our slide, and it's a lot of work for Nick here. We got to thank Nick. Okay, so you know what it is. You got the soap. It falls on the ground. You got to get down and pick it up. You say, forget it, but I really need the soap, whatever. So if you, you might have seen them at hotels where they have glued to the wall shampoo, conditioner, and body soap or whatever. And so this is a great way. You can if it's at the right height though, get so that it's not too high, so that you can get it with your elbow or the side of your forearm and pump it onto your other hand. Really gets rid of all of that soap slipperiness, which can be a real drag. Handrails and grab bars in the shower, I really feel are critical. If there's so many falls that happen in the shower, and this is a place that you need to go to, okay? And there are some suction cup handrails, and some are better than others. So sometimes they release. So I really think it's worth the investment of getting bolted into the wall by a professional, those shower rails for you. Keeping you safe while you stand would be the non-slip decals, and you want to have everything that you need nearby. So having a shower caddy that's at the right level, that's not too low or too high. And a really nice little hack is a bath mitt. So some people make these. They just take a washcloth and put a pocket in it, and they put the bar soap in that pocket if you still want to use bar soap, or just a mitt that you can put on your hand and use that to soap up. Putting the gel on there, and you can soap up, and my goodness, it's kind of like having a loofah that you're not letting go of. It's just very helpful. There may come a time though that you need a shower chair, which means you're going to need to sit to shower. And arthritis, it ebbs and flows. You're going to have good days and bad days. So there's days where I can stand in the shower, but there's days I'm going to need that shower chair. And this is another big item that you can get at secondhand places and things like that, and they're relatively inexpensive, but it is a safe place. And it feels great to be in the shower for a longer period of time, because you warm up the joints and so you get to relax. And if you have to worry about your balance, get the shower chair. It is one of the most important things that can be helpful to you. And so you're sitting in that shower. Now you're going to need a handheld shower nozzle that can be put in by a plumber, or there are attachments that easily go on to your existing plumbing. One of the, if money is no object though, there is a step-in tub. Okay, so you open the door, step in, and you get a nice bath. I know I have one friend who has this. She has arthritis, and she just loves it. And so it is something that has to be, of course, professionally installed and purchased. Step in tub. Okay, handles for razors. Okay, Rebecca showed you a little bit about that, but there are long handles for razors, which can really help you to shave your legs, to get those lower areas. Trimming toenails is trying, let me tell you. Now, before we came on, Rebecca and I were talking about the toenail difficulty. And although there are long-handled toenail clippers, many individuals have less feeling or sensation in their toes as we age, or for a variety of reasons. And so you have to be sure that you are really on the spot with trimming your toenails. And so many individuals will have this done by a podiatrist. And in some cases, it can be covered by insurance. So I would hate to recommend a toenail clipper and somebody gets cut. It would be terrible. So that is something that I like to kind of leave to a podiatrist. And I've had patients who have been able to get that covered by insurance. Turning devices. So you've got your deodorant and you've got to turn the deodorant to bring it up. Daisum, or sticky, it's a sticky material that can help you to turn that item, can be very helpful. And I think Rebecca has one of those, some Daisum. I don't know if you want to show it at this time or a little bit later.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
This is a piece of Daisum, and it's spelled, Robin is one of our producers. If you can put it in the Q&A for people, DYCEM. A lot of therapy clinics will have it. Your hand therapist, your physical therapist, your occupational therapist will have this material. It comes in a huge roll. But if you look up their website, they do have some smaller materials that you might be able to purchase, and that are specific to like opening a bottle or opening a jar. But the Daisum, I think this is where Jeanine was going, is you can use this. This has been a lifesaver to me, and I wasn't introduced to it until a couple of years, actually several years into my diagnosis. And it makes it easier for me to open, let's say, chapstick by using the palm of my hand, and I just press down and turn, and I can get it off. That's my chapstick. So you imagine if you did your deodorant as well, push down with your palm, and you kind of just are using a little bit of force to turn it. This is sticky material. I used to keep this in my kitchen. This lives in my kitchen drawer. I have one in my bathroom, and I have one in my car, because in my car, I used to have issues doing what? Opening your gas cap to refill your gas. And so I would literally sit there and wait for people to come by to ask for help until I found this. And I would keep this in my car. And so having a piece of it for the areas where you know you're going to be opening something is really important, I think. So I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of people were asking about that.
Yes, Rebecca, the gas cap, I have to talk about the gas cap, because I have so many of my patients that can do everything in that car except open that gas cap. And we're going to have a key turner here in just a minute. Stay tuned. But there is a gas cap turner that is available, and it is a little plastic tool. If you Google gas cap turner, that is available. And when I lecture on this, people are always really excited about the gas cap turner. But I gave this lecture in Europe, and they're like, why do you have it? None of the cars in Europe have gas caps. None of them. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I think all of the people on this call, if we could just write our senators and say, please get rid of gas caps. How's that sound? I don't know. Yeah, right. Because cars don't have to have them. They can be flip open and whatever. So I probably am going to get in trouble, but I just feel like gas caps are a problem for many people, for older adults and people with arthritis, and they really do not need to be there. So let's get rid of let's have a little club, get rid of gas cap club, okay? So I think that'd be good. All righty. So Nick, I think we're ready for the next slide here. Okay. All righty. Someone also talked about a sponge on a stick, which is really helpful in for getting your feet clean. And here, and Rebecca's holding one up in that area.
Loofah, yeah.
Yeah, a loofah or a soap, which is very helpful. And so very good. Okay. Sorry, there's so much going on. It's like
We
fireworks
keep
going
getting
back and
more
forth.
questions, so we're trying to make sure we answer your questions too. So that's why I kind of just keep popping on and off the screen. I'm trying to read all the questions.
Yes, and and we can stay here on this slide, but one of our wonderful individuals watching tonight said that the Honda Civic does not have a gas cap. So go Honda. Okay, all righty. So I think that we're going to go on to hair care, grooming and hair care, and so. Using a hairbrush with a larger handle can be very helpful, but sometimes getting that in the back, oh my goodness, that can be very difficult. So there are extensions, or there are brushes and combs that have a reacher to them, which can be very helpful. But we women, we dry our hair and blow it and style it and hold the hair dryer and it's a lot. So this is a very simple wall mounted or hair dryer stand that can eliminate the need to hold your hair dryer above your head. And I know lots of people without arthritis that are doing this. So it's an inexpensive fix, and it can be very, very helpful. Tips for washing hair. I think the easiest way to wash your hair is to do that in the shower, as opposed to leaning over a sink, which is hard on your neck, or and so doing that in the shower. And then you can use a reacher to scrub the soap into your hair here. Something like a pasta, almost like a pasta lifter. It can be very helpful for that. And for the conditioner as well. So, and I'm noticing that also somebody was asking about putting lotion on their back. Rebecca, do you want to take that one, or I can?
That's a really good question. So I think you can use, you would have to have one obviously set separate, one of the long handle. There's different kinds of long handle ones that you can use, but they also have, oh, I don't have it with me in here, but they have some that have a strip of material, and it has handles on both sides. It's a piece of material for like exfoliating your back. I would almost put some of that, and then you can go side to side on that. But they have these in loofahs, they have them in different materials at the end. It's just the matter of having a long handle, and you just have to dedicate it to being, your device for lotion versus washing your body. I've had several spinal surgeries with my neck, and I know what you mean. Like I have to have back scratchers and stuff like that. So that's kind of one way that I've handled it. I don't know if anybody else has any hacks that they've come across. Please share that in the Q&A with everyone. But that's one thing that I've done, is I just kind of use that when I'm, having issues, or my shoulders are hurting, or even my wrists, having a long handled device, again, to kind of just be able to put some of that lotion on. But I also use the body wash that I use is, moisturizing body wash. And I found some lotion that's after shower lotion, and you actually put it on when you're in the shower. So then if you were using something like I was talking about that has the handles on the end, and you can just put it down your back, you're already wet, and you're supposed to dry, because that helps. If you put the lotion on when your skin is still wet, it helps keep some of that moisture in. So those are some ideas, because if it gets messy, at least you're in the shower trying to do it. But that's one thing that I've used in the past before, like post-surgery.
Great. Okay, I think we're on the next slide already. My goodness, we're flying here. And there's lots of tips. Check the question and answer. Even if you don't want to ask a question, you might find some wonderful tips in our question and answers too. So getting around the house, walking, getting around. We had some earlier questions about proper posture and gait, which is really helpful. So especially the right way to walk up and down stairs. That's a frequent flyer question. And so I think the best way to think about getting up and down stairs is this little phrase, up with the good and down with the bad. Okay. Some people say the good go up to heaven and the bad, well, we won't say the rest of that. So anyhow, I think you can figure that out. These are my jokes, same jokes. Okay. So so when you're going up a stairs, you want to lead with the stronger leg. Not that one leg is good or one leg is bad, but it just helps you to remember. And then, so you lead with the stronger leg and then the other leg. Now, when you're going down, the reverse is true. Okay, so you would lead with the weaker leg or the leg that is more painful. And if you have a cane there, then you're going to add a little bit, you're going to lead with the good leg, okay, then the bad leg or the weaker leg or the more painful leg, and then the cane. So it would go less painful leg, more painful leg, cane. Going up, then going down, you're going to lead with the bad leg and then the good leg. I'm sorry, lead with the cane and then the bad leg and the good leg. So the cane kind of gets you braced for going down, which is very helpful. So let me just say that again. So going down, lead with the cane, then the weaker leg, and then the good leg. So that's kind of the tips for that. Remove it, the thing that's going to really slow you down is a fall. You want to hang on to your independence as long as possible. And what's going to have you end up needing medical care is a fall. And so that's got to be the goal, is getting rid of falls and preventing falls. And so removing clutter is important. Now, I know you've got some gorgeous throw rugs that you absolutely adore, but they are trip hazards. And so I think I go into my mother's house and I say, we got to get rid of these throw rugs. She keeps buying them. And I say, we got to get rid of, because I want her to be able, she's 86 with arthritis and she's living by herself and she's doing very well, but she likes throw rugs. So it's a big issue. Pets, many people trip over their pets too. So sometimes you can put a bell around a pet or whatever. It's sometimes you really want to have a pet in your home, but sometimes you need to think, is this something that I will be able to take care of in all types of weather? And, really have to consider that. You don't want to be tripping over a pet. And also extension cords. It's like, oh my goodness, I want to have this over there and I got to have this extension cord. They can be very dangerous. So, getting rid of those extension cords, maybe having another electrical outlet installed in the right place, or especially getting extension cords away from high traffic areas. So I think that we covered this one here. Rebecca, do you have any thoughts? Oh, there she is.
I'm going to add in one thing that, thank you for going over how to use a cane the right way, because I think a lot of people don't use it the right way, right? They've got it on the side that is the weaker side, and they're using it on the wrong side, you know what I mean? But sometimes when you're traveling, which I have had pre-pandemic been traveling a lot, you have difficulty walking, right? I was traveling to teach some courses and standing all day. So by the end of the day, I was hurting a lot. Well, the cool thing is you can find all kinds of canes. This is a cane that can travel well, and you can actually break it down to make it much smaller. And what I like about it, Jeanine, is it's not a single point cane. It has the tripod, so it gives you a little bit more stability every time you use it, and it has a thicker handle. You can find these, most drugstores will have canes. A lot of them have ones that are options that are travel size or break down. But I recently decided that this was something that I should start traveling with, because oftentimes if I'm doing a lot of walking or standing on a trip, I'm limping at the airport, right? And then that isn't good for the rest of my joints. So having something that's travel friendly and available to me when I need it, I think is smart to have, and I'm okay with that, right? So as long as I can reduce some of my pain and not cause more harm to my body, I don't mind traveling with this. I don't use one on a regular basis at all, but there are times when I'm hurting a lot. And I remember seeing a comment that somebody had written recently, and it might have been in response to the podcast. I host our podcast, but they were saying that they furniture walk at home or hold on to the walls. Just invest in a cane. If it's one side that's really hurting you, invest in a cane, and that will be better. If you have issues with your hands, there are different kind of crutches that you are supported by your forearms or even your elbows. But go to a physical therapist and get the help that you need to adapt your environment and find the tools you need to be able to move about your house safely.
Mm-hmm. And also the right size cane. I know there's beautiful canes out there that you might buy that are just the wrong length. You have to be sure they're the wrong length. So if you're, you can be a physical therapist can fit you for the right size cane. But a rule of thumb is that when you stand with your cane, it should really come to your wrist. The top of it should come to your wrist, so that when you hang on to it, you've got this is a 15-degree bend of your elbow hanging onto your cane. So you don't want it to be really high or really low, just the right size. So, and a cane that's got a wider handle is going to be easier for somebody with arthritis than a narrow handle. We actually did a study on this and found that. So the right size handle. So it was kind of fun. Okay. So
one question to answer though, before you move on from the
please.
Cane, how to walk with a cane in general, not just stairs. So which side should you be holding it on? Let's say it's my right leg, my right knee that hurts. Should I be holding it on my right side or my left side, Jeanine?
Well, you want to have it in the stronger side, or the side that's less painful, so that because if it's less painful, you're going to feel more secure with it. So, and you know what? Sometimes that can vary, don't you think? From day to, sometimes you might have pain that varies.
Oh yeah, for sure. But the key is the stronger side, not the side that hurts more, right? Right. Every day can be a surprise which joint hurts, but if it's the right or the left, whichever side hurts the most, you should be holding the cane on the opposite side that feels stronger. So that's something that I think a lot of people don't get right. So I'm glad that question came up. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Very good. Thank you. Okay. So I think we're on to the next slide. Okay, this is one of my favorites, is the key turner. Okay, so we were talking about cars earlier, and it was so fun to see in the question and answer room all this. There's like a 2012 car that doesn't have a gas cap. I mean, there was all these cars that did not have gas caps, so I was all excited. But starting a car can be so difficult, especially with osteoarthritis, pain at the base of the thumb, that heavy pinch and turn. How nice it is that many cars don't have that at all anymore. They have a button. What a joy. I don't have that. I have an older car, but my mother has the button to start her car. But if you still need a key, this is a nice key turner. There's many. You just want to increase the amount of leverage that it takes to turn. So that's with a longer handle. Make out of splinting material. If you're having having a splint made, the therapist can take your key and put some splinting material on it, and it works really well. I used to do that all the time in the clinic. There are, but if you can get things out of your hand and have them held externally, you're going to free up your joints. It's that prolonged position in one position, like holding your iPhone. We're all holding our iPhones too long. Let's get that propped up and get it on speaker. Book holders. This position is really hard, especially with people with rheumatoid arthritis. And if there's any swan neck deformities, that is just very difficult. And so the book holder is something you can just sit and read a book and just turn the pages. Personal shopping carts are very helpful for moving items from point A to point B. And I hope that you're really thinking about a reacher to get stuff off the floor. And a folding reacher, is a little more expensive, but a reacher is no good if it's not with you. And if it's so big, you can't carry it around, you're not going to carry it around. So if you are walking with a walker bag with a reacher in it is so helpful to get items off the floor, because that's where we've got this thing called gravity and everything ends up on the floor. So that can be a big help for around the house. Doorknob covers is a way to take a regular doorknob and turn it into one with a lever. But really recommend getting lever handles for your doors. I've had so many stories of individuals with arthritis that just can't turn that door handle, and it's a simple hack with a lever. And the key extenders, they're just great. So, Rebecca, do you have any thoughts? Nope, we're good. I can't hear you. So.
Sorry, I'm muted. Sorry. I have some of the things. So I think on the next slide is a demo. Am I wrong? So to
I was ahead. Nope.
You were ahead.
No, don't. I think we're good. Do you have what you got there, Rebecca? We're all
so
excited.
Here's the reacher, and like Jeanine said, this thing is great, but you always have to have it with you, because I have stairs in my house, and sometimes when I need it, it's downstairs or it's upstairs. So it's no good if you don't have it. So yeah, if you invest in one that's portable, or you have one upstairs and downstairs, maybe that's okay. But like she mentioned earlier, these are the kinds of things that get donated a lot. People have surgery. They'll get a hip kit given to them by the hospital when they leave, by the OT, and then they recover and they donate it. So a lot of these equipment, sometimes you'll see at like Goodwill or something. But this helps you reach. And then here's another little notch that sometimes I've used to kind of push something open that I can't reach. But a reacher, the key is huge. This was when I was in my first 2 years of rheumatoid arthritis. My hands and my wrists were so affected that I couldn't turn the key for the car. So this is one of those extenders Jeanine showed that you can screw your key into it. And you can, some of them, there are a variety of them out there, but the point is that you have a longer lever to hold. One thing I want to teach you about turning a key, whether it's your car or your door. Doorknobs, and if you have rheumatoid arthritis, sometimes moving your hand towards your pinky is impossible, right? You have too much swelling and inflammation and pain that you can't do it, and your muscles are weak. So instead of moving towards your pinky or trying to move toward your thumb, you turn your hand and you turn your body toward the doorknob so that you're going front to back, which is called flexion and extension. That makes all the difference. I learned that the hard way when I was first diagnosed, because I could not open my front door. So I turned my body to be parallel with the doorknob and opened it this way. And I could do it, but I couldn't do it the normal way that we know how to open a door. Same thing with the key. Instead of trying to hold it with that tight grip sideways, hold it with the extender this way and go front and back. Flexion and extension is what that is that you're using. When you use moving toward your pinky is what's called ulnar deviation. If you have rheumatoid arthritis, that's the way that the joints naturally want to curve to, right? So you want to avoid those positions of what we call deformity, because they could add to it, right? So avoid moving toward your pinky with any movements in your thumb, and just try going with front to back flexion and extension. So hopefully that helps. I know how hard it can be. So keys, and then you mentioned the levers. So this was, if you're wondering why I have a doorknob, it's because it fell off the basement. But we changed all of our doorknobs in our house because you could easily open and close just by using your forearm or your elbow. They're all levers and they're so much easier for me to do. I know that's not easy and it's an expensive fix, but we were in the market to change our doorknobs many years ago and went that route. But they do have, as Jeanine mentioned, adapted covers for your door, and it's a plastic thing that you just pop on there and it will make it much easier to open your door. And again, I bring out my friend Daisum. Daisum can help you open the doors. And so I would use that as well. I think that was the last of what I had to demo for that section, and we can move on to the next.
I think we're a great team here. My goodness, it's so helpful. Okay.
Fun.
All righty, we can go on to the next slide. And we're doing some laundry. My least favorite thing. Let me just say, my husband does the laundry at our house, so I'll just send him over to your house to do. I'll do all your laundry. So okay, but but anyhow, doing laundry, moving soap into small containers for ease of use. So, we get our laundry soap at Costco, but he moves it into a smaller thing. So if I have to do occasional laundry or whatever, but I also have gone to the pods, those little pods, and I get no money from any of these companies, but it's just so easy to have those lightweight pods, and they have everything in them. I had a lot of patients that have their washer and dryer in the basement and have to go down the stairs. It seems to be one of the things that, people want to age in place these days. They want to stay in their homes as long as possible. And if your washer and dryer is not on the main level, it can really be an issue. Showering, toileting, doing laundry. And if you have to go downstairs and fall, you're not going to be able to stay in, you're going to have to go have a surgery probably. So get that washer and dryer on the main floor. You said, we don't have room. Well, stackable washers and dryers can fit in the little closet and can really help you stay independent as long as possible. I like to remove items, or have my husband remove items from the dryer before they're completely dry and hang them up to decrease wrinkles, and have a lower bar in that near your washer and dryer so that you're not having to reach up high with a sore shoulder there. And when you buy the clothes, I don't know if linen should be part of my wardrobe ever. It just wrinkles when you look at it sideways. Okay, so I like clothes that instead of a starched white shirt, I wear a lot of knits that are easy to deal with, and we have that option. If you love to iron though, and you love to have that pressed look, sitting to iron, lower that ironing board, and have everything at a height that's comfortable for you. Placing clothes hangers at spray on a table next to the ironing board, having everything in one place is really helpful. But Rebecca was saying that she likes to use a steamer for her clothes, right? Instead of that.
Yeah, I think we have some more tips on the next slide, but I actually use a steamer that has, kind of the hanger, and you hang your item on it, and it's very lightweight and it has a fat handle. I don't remember where I got it. I probably got it at Bed Bath & Beyond. But I use a steamer because the iron is too heavy for me to hold. And it's definitely, who loves ironing though? I mean, I guess there are some people who do, but I don't. And so again, like I have realized looking at my clothes today, trying to find some things to use in demo that, I've completely adapted my clothing to have less buttons, things that don't need to be ironed. But yeah, for sure, trying to find what works best for you and is easier. But I find that the steamer works well. And then that idea of taking it out before it's completely dry to hang dry, that oftentimes works as well. But a lot of the washers and dryers now, if you have a newer one, have some of these steaming functions to get the wrinkles out and that kind of thing. So, when you're in the market for a new washer or dryer, take a look at what options that are available that might make some of that laundry easier, aside from like having to do it, period. But I know how it feels to be the person who wants to do all your laundry on laundry day. But this is something I had to really change in how I do chores around the house. Laundry is an ongoing process at my house. I feel like it never ends, but I can't do 5 loads of laundry in a day. I will flare. My hands will flare. My wrists will hurt. My elbows will hurt. So I just break it down into a couple days. And, one day it's towels, one day it might be my son's laundry, and then another day it's my husband and I's. But breaking it down instead of thinking I have to do it all in one day anymore like I used to has helped. Otherwise, when I have gone overboard and done 5 loads in a day because I wanted to just get it done, I've iced in between folding. And so, or I fold as soon as it's done because I'm not sitting there folding 3 or 4 baskets of laundry. That's what we call pacing, right? Spreading out the chore that you're doing into tasks. And so that's another tip I wanted to share, but I think we can move to the next slide.
Mhm. Yes. And I think, so here, there's going on to assistive devices for the laundry. I think we covered
I think we
that.
covered all of those.
Yep, that's good. We'll go to the next one. See, Nick knew that we need to go to the next one. So, okay. So general cleaning tips, and Rebecca did a great job of talking about the last one on this list, which is activity pacing, not doing everything at once, dividing and conquer, taking breaks, and asking for help. And, if you are good with activity pacing, you're going to do more. So many people feel like, well, I still want to be able to do X, Y, and Z like I've always done. Well, you can probably do X, Y, and Z if you do it differently. If you pace, if you spread it out, if you, ask for help, if you eliminate some things, then and if you don't have 3 days of flare up because you did X, Y, Z, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X. So really working smarter, you can do more. Scrubbing dishes with, with plastic gloves or the magic erasers, or scrubbing anything really. But, I like to pre-treat things, that might be real sticky and come back and get them later. Just put some water on maybe a stain on a carpet and then step on it with a towel, you know what I mean? And using my whole body to absorb that. Lightweight vacuums or spray mops are better, like a mop that you spray to get that clean. But another thing, if it's a little expensive, the robot vacuum cleaners, they just kind of
about to say that.
You were going to say that. Oh my goodness. So, yeah. So do you have one?
No, but that's a great Christmas gift to put on your wish list, right?
Yes.
Or a Black Friday item to purchase because, let the Roomba or whatever they're called. There's a Shark, there's different brands, but let it do the vacuuming for you. Or if you don't live alone and you have other people in your home, that's a great task to sign out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Stashing cleaning materials where they need to be. So you would have the kitchen ones in the kitchen. If you have more than one bathroom, if you can invest in, Windex for tooth or whatever you use for your mirrors or whatever. I don't get any money from Windex, but whatever, right there under the counter. So if you're there and you want to spray the mirror before you leave, it's all set and that is done for the day. But again, there are messes. I talked about waiting to clean up some messes that are a little bit need to have the solution work. You may want to, some things get stickier. I have to tell you, the one of the Oprah, the show Oprah, remember Oprah when she was on? The most comments she got was on dealing with stains. Okay, so I have a feeling that our question and answer to be full of how to deal with stains. But if you have like a sticky, gooey thing on the floor, or spraying it. And let the product work for you. Spraying a pan and letting it sit, or soaking, letting that happen, or having somebody else do it. So this could be a whole video in itself. So I fear that we can't spend as much time here as we'd like. So I think we'll have to go on to the next slide. So Okay, gardening. There were questions before we started about gardening, and uh, you know, getting down on the ground to garden can be very hard on your joints. There are raising up the flower beds can be just gorgeous, or raising up the vegetable beds so that you're working at a more neutral height, and not reaching can be just lovely. And if you have a big pot that you want to fill, using styrofoam peanuts from packaging materials and then dirt helps with drainage, and they're not so heavy to move around. There's long handled tools that you can maybe sit to do your gardening. There's even like long handled battery operated tools that can help with some of the weeding. There's there's lots of gardening tools that have bigger handles that are very helpful. And so you want to have that leverage of a longer and a bigger handle to deal with your gardening. This here, they're showing a kneeling pad. So you'd have to have pretty good knees to do this. I wouldn't recommend this if you have knee pain, but a little wagon. There's a scooter wagon that you sit on and kind of work your way down an aisle. And that can be a little less range of motion of the knees required for that. So that can be very helpful. I think we can go to the next slide. Home office, one of my favorites. So there are ergonomic keyboards, but there are so many. If before you invest, really try them out ahead of time to see if the adequate range of motion. Oh, and Rebecca's holding up hers. Do you want to tell them about yours? Or
Yeah, and here's the thing. I've needed one for a while, and it took me a long time to get one because I actually went to stores to try them out. And so that's an important piece. So whether you're working with an ergonomic specialist or an occupational therapist at all and have a lot of wrist, shoulder, elbow issues, hand issues, you definitely want to get the right fit. Not all ergonomic keyboards are made equal, and not all of our hands and wrists are made equal. So you need something that fits you naturally and is comfortable for you. My left wrist is completely fused and my right wrist is partially fused. So it definitely was not a one size fits all keyboard for me. I cannot use a general keyboard at all. It doesn't, I get more pain in my elbows. But I had to go try them out. The one that's in the picture I tried out, but it didn't work right for me. This one had a little bit more of an angle to it. And so it worked better for me, but I actually had to physically go and test them out at some of the office stores just to find the one that I thought would be best for me. And I think I found the right fit. And so having somebody either guide you who knows more about ergonomics, especially when it comes to your office setup, or if you want to just get a keyboard on your own, try it out first, do a little test drive. You're going to be using it a lot. If you type from home and you use a computer all day, you definitely want one that is going to fit your needs and your joint issues. So I just wanted to share that.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. There are adjustable standing desks. They were very, very popular. Some people they work for and some they don't. But you have to be sure that you're changing your position, because we don't need to sit at our desks as long as we're sitting at our desk. We need to get up, maybe put a timer on your computer so that you're going to get up and move around after 20 minutes or an hour, especially if you're doing a big project. But some people find that they like to alternate between a standing desk and a sitting desk, and that's the way they keep going. Be sure it's one that's easy for you to change from one position to another, because some can be easier to do than others. Headsets, I always use a headset when I'm talking on my computer, when I'm Zooming, or when I'm using my phone, because it keeps my hands free and also it keeps me from doing this kind of thing, which is really bad for your neck. The writing board, a slanted writing board, brings your work closer to you, so you're not bending at the neck. And a chair needs to fit you well. And the next slide, I think, shows this better. So we could probably go right on to the next slide.
While you're doing that, there's a
sure.
question about mice,
Mice,
computer mice.
mice. Yes.
Again, not all mice are created equal. There are some that you work more in a vertical plane. And if that's a more comfortable position, you literally move the mouse this way and there's like the button at the top. But having a mouse pad that has support for your wrists is good to have. So again, you can shop these. You'll have a limited selection at some of the office stores, but look on Google it and you'll find so many different ergonomic options. But again, I would caution you to try to see what would work best for you and maybe working with a hand therapist as to which position would be better for you.
Very good. Okay. So the correct sitting posture though, now you're all at computers right now. You can check this probably. Isn't this cool? So is the computer eye level, or are you bending down, or are you looking up? You want to have that and the monitor 18 to 24 inches from your eyes. So if you're bending down, you're going to be getting that curve in the back area for a prolonged period of time. It's not going to be helpful. Are your shoulders up near your ears, or are your shoulders relaxed? Let's just, everybody just kind of get those shoulders down and relaxed, and I'm feeling better already. The chair should have a nice back support and arm support, and your thighs are they horizontal? You know what I mean? Or are they are you on a low chair or too high of a chair where they're not? So you can adjust that chair. Are your feet flat on the floor? Are you tippy-toeing it right now? Come on, let's check. Okay, nope, let's get those feet on the floor. That would be good. So many people also, their desk is way too high and their computer keyboard's on top of the desk. And you've got little feet underneath many of the keyboards that tilt your keyboard up. And if that's puts your wrists in extension, you want to have, this is called neutral. You want to have your wrist neutral. Okay. So I recommend that you have a lower keyboard in a drawer below your desk. They're very inexpensive to get. And you're going to be sure to have that neutral wrist. And also the elbows, if you have numbness and tingling that's happening at nighttime, it's probably because your elbows are bent too much during the day from being on your phone or being on your computer. So you can see here in this little illustration, your elbows should be more than 90 degrees, not less than 90 degrees. So if you're typing like this, you're going to have numbness and tingling. And so get those elbows straighter by getting that keyboard lower. So okay. All right, next one, we're going to have to get going here, it looks like. So other tips is taking breaks, and it looks like we're moving on to coverage for assistive devices. Some of these things are covered by insurance, some are not, but working with an occupational therapist or a physical therapist or a hand therapist can be very helpful. So, and you'll find there's things out there, but there was many questions about what's the right splint? And I really would recommend, there's nothing worse than the wrong splint. It just doesn't work. So really, this is something that you should really go to a therapist to get. So Rebecca, I think we're running out of time. Are we? Okay, good. I think you're muted, Rebecca.
We have a joke on our team that we're going to charge people a quarter every time you start talking and you're on mute. So sorry. Before we wrap up, we only have a few minutes left, but we're going to try to answer more questions.
Yes. Can I do the medication one?
Oh yeah, there is a question: how to open
childproof bottles. Okay.
The counter medicine bottles.
Alrighty. So what I'd like you to do is, first of all, tell your pharmacist that you do not want childproof bottles. They have bottles for you that are not childproof, but if you've already got the childproof ones, some of them you can just turn them around. Just turn them up, the cap upside down and screw them on, and they become non-childproof and bigger. So I really would recommend that you do that. Of course, if there's small children, be sure that you're taking care and getting those meds out of little hands. But that is helpful. So
Yeah, and so these are some of the questions that are coming in. We're going to try to answer some before we run out of time. We'll try to get through as many as we can, but I think we've really tried to address a lot of questions that you've been putting in the chat as we've gone along, and it made sense. I just wanted to try to see if we can get through a few more. We have a little bit more time. So we're not going to be able to get to everybody's questions, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. So another question, Jeanine, how to open heavy doors or the fridge?
right. Okay. So sometimes putting a strap around the handle of the fridge can be helpful, and you can open that with your forearm instead of your hands, and that can be very helpful to do that.
Yeah, so any kind of like here's the yoga strap again. I feel like we should invest in have some yoga sponsors for this, but you could wrap this around the handle and make, obviously you don't need a big loop, but you use your forearm. That's what Jeanine is talking about. Use your forearm to pull. So any handles. If it's a door that can push, you can push, like, you're in a building and it's got the push bar, use your body, not your hands. Use the side of your body. I always use my upper arm and my side or my big hips to try to open the door if it's heavy, and use my body versus using my hands. Another question, dealing with heavy pots and pans in the kitchen.
Oh, I do love my heavy pots and pans, but I got to tell you, slowly I'm replacing them with not heavy pots and pans. They're just too heavy. And every Sunday I have like 15 people over here for dinner. So I have been replacing, big family. I've been replacing them with lightweight pots and pans. If you need to move things though on the counter, sometimes if you can get a trivet with wheels on it, little wheels, you can or you can slide pots and pans across the counter, but lifting them, especially to wash them, can be very challenging. You might want to line your sink with a rubber mat because of the amount, you don't want to drop all that stuff in there. So
yeah, and just a reminder, we are going to have another one of these sessions, Living Made Easier, focused on the kitchen and getting around in the kitchen, and some hacks in the kitchen. So we'll probably have some more gadgets that deal with heavy pots and pans in the kitchen. One thing that I do a lot too is if I need to fill a heavy pot, I have stainless steel pots too, fill it with water. I put the pot on the stove and I put a container of water. I fill the water separately instead of carrying the heavy pot of water to the oven, or the stove. Another question, putting on earrings for pierced ears and bracelets. That's tricky because it's a very small hook to do, but Jeanine had mentioned earlier, we had a slide. There are, if you take it to a jeweler, some people who can adapt your clasps and stuff for you to make it easier. Mm-hmm. We have another question on topicals for pain, especially ones that don't have an odor. Yeah, that's tough, right? Like all of them have some sort of scent. I think, the newer NSAID topical that's out there, there's a variety that have difalconac in it. Difalconac sodium is the brand, but I think Aleve and Voltaren are some brands of topical NSAIDs. I know that those don't have much of a smell to them, and if they do, it does dissipate after a bit. The caution I would say for those is make sure you're reading the dosing instructions. If you're using the proper amount, they really do work. I rely on topicals a lot for knee pain and shoulder pain. So I know it's like biofreeze and icy hot, like, we don't want to walk around in the community smelling like we have icy hot on all the time, but it's a wonder. Somebody should create something that works like that but doesn't smell like that, right? Sometimes they say there are some that are like unscented, but I still smell something. So that's hard to say. A lot of these too, right now, all these topical NSAIDs you're seeing, there's a big emergence of some coming out over the counter. Some of them do have arthritis friendly caps. So you want to look out for that. I think this is going to be our last question because we are running out of time. Tips for seat buckles and child seats. I knew that question was going to be asked because I know how much I struggled. And my son's 13, and I don't think that these cool adaptive features that are out there, if you look, Google again, um, uh, ch- uh, adaptive equipment for child safety for child seats, you'll come up with a couple options that can be adapted, and it helps make it easier to unbuckle. But one of my friends who's a hand therapist as well, Susan, Jeanine, my friend Susan Betts is an OT, and she's been my hand therapist for many years. This is a massage tool, and she just found like a little rubber piece to put on the end of it, and you can has a bigger handle, and it makes it non-slip because this is rubber, and you can push in the button, and so it helps to undo it. And I know how much I struggled, so much so that by the time I think my son was almost 2, he could unbuckle himself because he could do it better than me. But we have several options for gadgets out there. But yes, definitely, if you haven't checked out, there is a great support group on Facebook called Mamas Facing Forward that one of our volunteers runs. And there's always some great advice from other moms on there too for other child and baby things that are hard to open or use.
And Rebecca, have you seen the seatbelt extenders for
Yes.
people? I don't. There's a little device that can be a seatbelt extender that you could. I know it's very hard sometimes to get that seatbelt from point A to point B, and those seatbelt extenders have been really popular. And again, just Google seatbelt extender.
Yeah,
So,
it's easy. I mean, it's so much easier to find this stuff. But then before when I was diagnosed over 20 years ago, like, internet was not what it is today. So thank goodness for progress. So Jeanine, thank you so much for sharing all of these great tips with us today, and helping us walk through almost like a day in the life, right?
Yeah, well, it's been a pleasure, and I just want to thank all the people that put such nice comments. They were helping each other, and they were just so encouraging. They said such kind things. So thank you for your kind words about this presentation. It was a joy to do.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, right now there's like 233 questions and comments in the chat. And that, I mean, I've moderated webinars for us before, and you guys have been such an active group. So I hope that this has helped you out a lot. So thank you so much, Jeanine, for joining us. You can catch Jeanine on our podcast. She was in our podcast last year during April for Occupational Therapy Awareness Month. She's also featured on our Ease of Use website. So if you haven't checked out our Ease of Use certification and products, people who partner with the foundation to make sure their products are arthritis friendly, it's a program that we have called Ease of Use. And if you go to arthritis.org/ease of use, you might see Jeanine in a little video clip on that page talking about what ergonomics is and why it's important to have a proper grip. This is her area of research. So thanks again, Jeanine. Wanted to share some info. So here's the information on our Ease of Use products. Sometimes when you're out in the grocery store, I was just at Home Depot the other day. There are several products out there that are Ease of Use certified for gardening that are out there. And you'll see a little label with our logo on it that says Ease of Use certified by the Arthritis Foundation. And these companies go through a process, and it is quite a process to make sure that their products are ergonomic and helpful to people with arthritis and easier on their joints. So you can find certain products in retail locations throughout the US, but just look for that Arthritis Foundation logo and that Ease of Use certified sticker on it. So arthritis.org/ease of use is the website, but you can find the Advil cap is on there. You can see the Voltaren cap is one of those topical NSAIDs that's got an arthritis friendly cap. There are some pill organizers, but a lot of things that you can find to help you on the daily, help you get back to gardening maybe. And then on our next slide, we have information on some other resources coming up and some other events. So if you want to check out some more webinars coming up, I will be moderating the next one again about recently diagnosed, everything you should know. This is going to be a great panel discussion on things that you can make sure that you know, or if you know somebody who was recently diagnosed, some of the things that they probably have questions about. We're having one specific on arthritis in African Americans, powerful solutions for better care. There's one on juvenile arthritis and emotional health in those middle school years that are already tough. And then one that I'm sure a lot of you will want to tune into is gut instincts and how that microbiome plays a role with the arthritis connection. Tune in and have a listen on the Live Yes with Arthritis podcast. If you haven't yet, I am the host of the podcast, and we have all kinds of topics that we've covered already in the last 2 years. You can find it anywhere you get your podcast. It's called Live Yes with Arthritis podcast. If you have not already, join one of our Connect groups. A lot of them are virtual still, still coming out with a pandemic and different roles in different areas. But joining our Connect groups is a great way to connect with other people, get some referrals to some other therapists and healthcare providers, hear more tips and tricks from other people who know what you're going through. It's just a great way to feel connected to people who know what you're going through. And then, of course, if there's some questions we didn't get to as well, our helpline is open for you, both online and you can call. We do have a licensed social worker. We have some volunteer mentors who are involved in the helpline, but our helpline specialists and staff can certainly help you get connected to the resources that you might need. And then I talked about it at the beginning of the onset of the webinar, Insights program. If you've got a few minutes, tell us what you're going through. Share your experience of living with arthritis. It will help bring more education materials and topics like this forward. It can help with research, especially when we're talking about osteoarthritis and participating in any clinical trials. But it really does help shape the agenda that the Arthritis Foundation can focus on in the coming time ahead of us as we look to the future of, hopefully finding better treatments and a cure. And then lastly, I just want to again thank you all for your attention and your time for joining us. As a reminder, in a few days, you will receive a survey email asking about your experience with this specific webinar. Please, if you can, take time to fill it out completely and honestly so that we can better serve you and make sure that we're doing our best to help keep you educated. Thanks again for joining me tonight. I hope you'll tune in and join me next in 2 weeks on May 4th for the next one for those that are recently diagnosed. And otherwise, I'll see you on the other side. Maybe you'll hear me on the podcast. So have a good night. Thanks for joining us.